Well, welcome back to the channel. It's been a while. Nighthawk Outdoors. It's actually Tim Adams, my real name. So there was a delicious breakfast I had on this impromptu day. I had 9 days off work at very short notice. So I decided to jump on the motorway and I thought, right, where can I go? I've travelled the world in the past, but I've never been north of the border, so this is how.
ORCHY Dunoo, Iron Brew, made in Scotland from Garda.
I celebrated crossing the border. So this was the long drive. It was, the weather wasn't great. It was a beautiful 4.5 hour drive up to Scotland. I actually had nowhere to stay, and because of the restrictions, because of COVID-19, I actually couldn't book anywhere in or around Loch Lomond. This is me being absolutely dazzled by Scottish money, because I've obviously never had to get any before as the main currency of Scotland. So after ringing numerous places, I actually phoned a place called the West Highlands Way camping site and spoke to a very, very nice guy called Andrew, and he said, oh, it's okay, don't worry, what time you get here we'll be able to accommodate you. So this is the rather picturesque and rolling hills and road that led up to ARGYLL House. Boutique hotel, actually, part of a large estate, and they have their own whiskey distillery, the Glencoe whiskey distillery. Goes back generations, and it's all part of a big family thing. But yeah, very scenic, peaceful drive. Quite tired at the end of it, but I could think of much worse places to drive than this. This is actually a friend I made at the side of the road. We got chatting. She was just about to embark on the West Highland Way walk, which is just shy of 100 miles up to Fort William in the north. And she was just arriving at the same time as myself, so we got chatting and had a couple of drinks a bit later that evening before she had an arduous walk to start the next day. This is it now, ARGYLL House, as you can see on the sign on the entrance gate. Beautiful place. Kind of woodland forest area to the right where you can pitch your tents. Then we've got the safari tents on the left hand side that you can hire for around about £30 a night. And an absolutely beautiful building. I was really blown away by this place, I've got to be honest with you. Andrew, the host, and the other members of staff were extremely accommodating, very, very helpful, and really, really knowledgeable about the place, its history. And there in the background you can see John Muir's writing cabin. John Muir is a famous Scottish author who wrote a book about the Highlands and then went on to emigrate to America, and he set up the national park movement over in the States, and Yellowstone National Park, which I thought was quite a really, really interesting part about this little place that I'd found, this little gem in the middle of nowhere at the base of the West Highlands. Very Scottish, very traditional. There's deer, there are stags literally everywhere on the wall on the left there. You can see the family tree, and there's Andrew himself. Well, I've arrived. This is my home for the night. Hello. Beautiful, aren't you? That's me. Yeah, the decor in the house, it was just really, really nice, and all of the cutlery was made from stag's horns, all custom made. Just really traditionally Scottish, and for me, as my first ever time in Scotland, to stumble across this place was absolutely fantastic. It really, really did hit home that I was north of the border for the first time in my life. There was a group here on the right, they had a huge barbecue going. This was my home for night one of the safari tents. Really cosy, couple of blow up beds and a camp bed in there as well, I think. A couple of lanterns were supplied as well.
Two.
So that was really cosy for the first night.
Scotland, I thank you.
And this is the woodland area to the right hand side of the driveway when you come into ARGYLL house. But it took on a really, really nice ambient mood as sun fell. Very, very cosy indeed, and Andrew was kind enough to go down to the local distillery, the Glencoe distillery, and get a £200 bottle of whiskey, which if you put a decent donation into a charity tub, which helps fund walkers on the West Highland Way. This is John Muir's Wilderness. This is his writing shed, where he wrote his books from. It's now been converted into a lovely cosy little room. This was where I stayed on my second night. £60 for the night. Very, very cosy. And there's me being a bit silly, but there you go. This is BALLOCH at the very foot of Loch Lomond. A lovely little picturesque village, great views out to the loch. This is just as you head up the west side of Loch Lomond heading north, and this is looking back east across the loch, roughly halfway between Loch and BALLOCH. Really peaceful. This was my first view. Actually stopped the car and got this footage. Just my first view of a loch. You know, I was really staggered and taken aback. It was just an incredible adventure unfolding. And then obviously I stopped in Loch, which again is an absolutely beautiful, picturesque little village. There's a gorgeous cafe there. I think it's called the White Horse Cafe. Correct me if I'm wrong, but a friend of mine put me onto it. And they serve the most beautiful big bowls of soup and really big, thick, I think it's called bannock, crusty bread and butter. So if you're quite peckish after you walk around the loch, visit that place. It's just next to the church in Loch, and you can get an incredible lunch. This was all filmed on my Huawei P30 Pro, which is an absolutely really incredible camera. But for some reason the video looks a little bit blocky. I'm not sure whether that's the actual render from DaVinci Resolve that's made it slightly pixelated, but the quality nevertheless on shots like this is really nice. And this was such an idyllic, beautiful little town. Something magical about the Highlands, the West Highlands in particular, that I've personally discovered on this adventure. The grandeur in some of the places. It kind of beats Wales, and Wales is a very close to my heart, place that I go to regularly and I have done for many, many years, at least multiple times a year. But the grandeur when you hit kind of Glencoe that you're going to see a bit later on in this video, it really does just blow you away. In fact, the only thing in comparison that reminds me of is when I went over to Vancouver a couple of times around about 20 years ago. And you drive through the Rocky Mountains and it's probably on a par with that, with the whole sense of scale and grandeur. It's really quite daunting. This is a place called Inverughlis, which is kind of coming up to the very northwestern side of Loch Lomond, and this is obviously looking back south along the loch. So this is the drive heading southbound on the west side of Loch Lomond. A really picturesque drive with the views of the loch to the left. Numerous islands scattered around the loch. It really, really was extremely awe-inspiring and yeah, just a real sense of happiness and pleasure because I'd made the effort to drive all of that distance up to Scotland, and to see this made every single mile worthwhile. So John Muir's hut again, and it really was cosy. I mean, you just look, there's stags everywhere. There's woodland through one of the windows. Nice little cosy bedside lamp. We've got a box of logs there and a wood burning stove. Little TV. Candles. And this place is really, really cosy at night. Well, this is little Scaramouche, a domesticated Scottish wildcat, believe it or not. Around about 2 to 2.5 times the size of a normal cat. Well, you can see the scale against Yarrick, one of the workers at the hotel. But it was so friendly. Scaramouche was meowing all the time and coming up to you looking for affection. And this was a beautiful steak dinner that he cooked for me, minus the peppercorn sauce that came a bit later. And then clearly I'd made 2 new best friends who were more interested in me than the food, clearly. It's more of the camping area in the woodlands, just behind the house, the main boutique hotel. There's different pitches where some hikers that were walking the West Highland Way pitched up next to some of the safari tents in the chicken coop, where they get fresh eggs from daily. There's the door. This is where the guy used to write shit. I've got a wood burning stove there with wood, little lamp, all kinds of Scotch memorabilia. Stags all over the show, stags outside, photos of the lochs. That's my bed. Little telly in the corner. This is where the guy used to write his stuff. That's what happens when Timo comes to town. BUTE. Well, indeed. So this was the following day with a slightly sore head, I've got to be honest with you. I did have more than one glass of that lovely £200 Glencoe locally distilled whiskey. And this drive was simply something else. This is on the way up to Glencoe and the Bridge of ORCHY. And this drive literally blew me away. I mean, the grandeur and the scale of it was just something else. It was absolutely stunning. I was really fortunate, given I was only there for 3 days. But the weather was really on my side. The Bridge of ORCHY, what an incredible vista. So this is the drive, the Skyfall Road, and up to the pass at Glencoe. The sense of scale on the video really doesn't do it justice for how small you felt next to those mountains, and that mountain on the left there's 2 of them together. You'll see it as we go around the next left-hand bend. But it was absolutely stunning, and it was sunny with some clouds, and just the way that the light catches this mountain on the left-hand side here now. I mean, I couldn't have asked for the weather conditions to be any better for my first drive through Glencoe Valley. This was the Glencoe Visitor Centre. This is the little model that they've got in reception, which I thought was quite quirky and cute. So I thought I'd get that and capture that on the video. The rest of it was just a couple of little shops and a cafe. And I sat out at the back, and some of the photographs you'll see at the back end of this video were taken at the Glencoe Visitor Centre. This is Loch CRERAN. This is as you come out of Glencoe and you head west on the road that runs alongside the loch, heading down towards a little fishing village called Oban. And this is STALKER Castle, stunning place. And this was the road to Oban. Unfortunately, I didn't get any video of Oban, but there's a few shots in photography of the West Highlands. This was the Glencoe bottle, 30 years aged, fresh water single malt. Some of the close-ups of John Muir's cabin. The lovely safari tent and the surroundings at Ardghyll House, and this is some of my astrophotography of the Perseids meteor shower above John Muir's cabin lit up at night. The valleys on the way to the Bridge of ORCHY, that great vista I mentioned before, Glencoe. That's the view from the back of the visitor centre looking back towards Glencoe. Absolutely stunning to see these things in reality for the first time. This is Oban. Really nice day. The sun was there. You can see the view there. It was absolutely beautiful. Sun shining, just 360-degree vistas. There's me looking rather pleased with myself. And there's from the port in Oban looking back. Nice portrait of Scaramouche there. Some of the safari tents at ARGYLL House glowing in the darkness. And here's some of the rooms that you can rent within ARGYLL Boutique Hotel. It's the lovely lounge area where guests come and congregate and just have chats and sample the Glencoe whiskey. This room was just phenomenal. Really beautifully laid out, and the furnishings and everything really made it. Looking back towards John Muir's writing cabin and some of the lovely stag artwork that they had around the place. Thank you so much indeed for joining me. Thanks for watching. See you on the next adventure. I'll see you next time. Take care.